Hi you guys, it's Jessica from Madonna in the Six YouTube channel. I just wanted to show you what I've been doing outside here since when the weather's nice and warm and stuff. You can see my shadow there. Anyways, I took those two pots. Remember those two pots that I had here? I took those two pots and I dumped them out over here because they were so heavy. I just dumped the soil out right here. It's kind of like lower there, so it really don't matter. So that's why I dumped it out there. I was just getting rid of them. And as you can see, I got a pile over here of all the pots that I dumped out all the soil and stuff. The house still hasn't been pressure washed completely, so that's why I did that. But anyways, I've just decided to go with something else. So I'm going to get rid of all these pots. I guess I'll give them to, even though I'm not speaking to them or whatever, I'm speaking to my sibling a little bit, but anyways, I'll give them to him and he can give them to our parents or whatever if he wants to, or he can keep them, whatever. I don't care. But I'm getting rid of them. I decided to get rid of them, and if I buy anything different, what I've decided to do is after everything's pressure washed and after I get everything painted and stained, what I'm going to do, this back porch over here needs a lot of work done to it. It needs places of, the wood needs to be replaced and stuff. It's old and stuff, and it just needs to be replaced. But so eventually, whenever I can afford to have the wood replaced and have it stained and stuff, I plan on just maybe putting like, I don't think I'll even put anything on the back porch, but on the front porch over here, after it gets pressure washed, that's where I put all the dirt and soil, the pot and soil and stuff that was inside those pots. It was kind of low there, and there was a lot of holes I dug up where I've been transplanting hostas to the backyard. I'll show you that in a second. But anyways, there was a lot of holes right in through there, so I just poured them all there. And this septic is still really bad. I see a piece of trash just flew over here. I'll have to get that, unfortunately. I don't want to, but I guess I could go ahead and try to do it. I swear this place is like a sewer swamp mixed. It's nasty. Ugh. That's so gross. But anyways, I've been moving. There was a few hosses, and I might have left a few that I didn't see that was right in here that I moved away. And all them pots came from the porch here. But I don't think I'm going to fool with it this year. I think what I've decided to do is once that gets pressure washed, I might buy like maybe 2 little pots or something. And I'm thinking porcelain if I can find them. I think I'm going to go with white, because I think I'm going to go with white on the bricks here whenever I paint them. I think I'm going to paint them just white bricks. And I think I'm going to paint the trim on the windows white too. And then eventually, it ain't going to happen all of a sudden or all at once. It's obviously everything's expensive, and I'm right now, unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of money, so it's going to take time, And then I think only thing I'll do to the siding is maybe like paint it maybe a lighter color, like a beige or tan, somewhere in that family or whatever. You can see some places of the siding was never finished, but it don't matter. I don't care about this house because I don't want to live here, so I just do whatever I have to do to get by or whatever. But you can see right here, that's what I'm in the process of doing. And this is harder than what it looks, because this right here is very hard ground. It's clay, and so it's pretty much like chopping in the cement, and that's all I'm using right now is that little bitty shovel to try to get into this and dig these out, and I'm trying to separate them so they won't be as large of bundles and stuff when I move them. But you can see I have a ton of work to keep me busy just on transplanting and stuff. But that's what I did with all those pots of soil right there, is I just put it right there in that low spot and those holes and stuff. And then right here you can see I'm going to have to transplant every single one of these hostas. I just want to do it. I mean, there's really no reason behind it or nothing. I just want to move them all to the backyard, you know, where all that, I'm trying to make that one huge flower bed or whatever. Here's some green solid colored hostas. They don't have any, they're light green. They don't have any other color in them. And I got to separate those out or they'll just transform over to these ones that have the white tips if they get too close together. So I need to move them anyways. But you can see I got a ton of hostas to move. So it's going to keep me busy for a long time. And it's harder than what it looks digging into this ground here. This ground is very, very hard. But I gotta move every single one of them and separate them out. And there's some in here too, so I gotta be real careful. There's some hostas in here and to right there. And then here's like another one of those green bundles right there. So I don't know what this little scrub right here is. I don't know what that is. And then it's growing next to this rose bush. I've got to get that rose bush out eventually and move it to the backyard. It's overgrown too. But I got quite a few things that I need to move. It'll take me a long time too, I'm sure, to transplant to the backyard out here. I'm not going to move this because this is just a blueberry bush. And that's the only one I have that's kind of looking like it's going to live. These others don't look like they're going to live or anything. But I don't think I'll put anything back here like in place of those pots where I had them and stuff. I think I'll just leave it as is. But there's a lot of boards on this back porch here that has to be replaced eventually because they're going to fall through and break if they're not. And so that's got to be done. Eventually though, what I had in mind, and I haven't said nothing to nobody about it, like my daughters or nothing. My youngest daughter, she's very sassy and she has her own opinions like we all do. But she likes to, which I was like that too when I was that age, so I'm not talking bad about her or nothing. I think we all are from time to time, especially us females. But anyways, what I've kind of had in mind, what I've been thinking is, I think because it gets so wet here, and this is like right next to where the driveway is right here, I think I'm wanting to build like some kind of a larger, maybe about from like right here at my foot to right here, well, at least about over here at my other foot, maybe like from this point or this step here underneath where that piece of wood is to over here where this tip of this concrete block is, maybe like that wide or something, like a little pathway is what I have in mind. I've just kind of been thinking about it. And have like 2 pieces of wood for the edges, and then obviously have them enclosed, and then put like gravels all in the inside of it, and you'd have to put like a tarp down to put the gravels on top of, and then maybe buy some like those, you know, those concrete squares that you walk across. And I don't know how big I would make it, but I don't know, like a big enough area that you could have like a walking path, you know, probably at least to maybe where it starts going down this little hill here, this little path where I put this dirt, where you go underneath the house, maybe at least to there, and maybe have it like curved or something, you know, so it's facing the driveway. That's what I've been thinking anyways. I'd like to do that for right there in the backyard, and then like the rest of the section here eventually, as long as I have to live here anyways. What I've been thinking, because where my dryer ties up a lot and stuff, is I've been thinking about like where that would end, make a little hanging like a drying rack for your clothes, like a clothes line or whatever. But I just want like a normal, simple one. You know, like put a piece of wood there in the ground with concrete, and then have like your rope or whatever over here hanging to your other piece of wood that you can put your clothes on. Have like a little simple clothesline, not very big one. I mean, just from the edge of the house there to where that dirt pile is, pretty much. That's all I would want, of like a little clothesline, you know, eventually. Obviously, I don't have the money to do stuff right now, but that's what I had in mind. And then out there in the front yard, I'm thinking about doing the same thing. That's what I had in mind, was like a little walking path. It's getting breezy, y'all. Sorry if y'all can't hear me. But anyways, have like a walking path like I was talking about in the backyard there, but have it connected like right here to the concrete. I kind of want it as wide as the concrete, to be honest. So pretty good size. And where it's so wet here because of that septic and everything else, I'd like to have it as wide as that concrete. And then I'd kind of like to have it coming up here straight with the edge of that concrete right here at my foot, with this what was supposed to be a flower bed. But like I said, it really don't matter about flower beds and stuff out here in this front yard and stuff where it's so bad with the septic and everything. But I'd kind of like to have it connecting straight across, at least out here, if that didn't affect the septic, of course, but with the edge of the house there, lined up with the edge of the house, like a little walkway area. I think that would be nice eventually sometime. I put dirt all over the house there trying to knock out those flower pot buckets or whatever. And then I wanted to walk out here in this front yard and show you guys this over here. I get medical supplies with my insurance. I got a different insurance now. I haven't been able to use it yet. Look how swampy. That's from a septic. But anyways, I tried to put this shower chair together last night. I got that with my medical supplies for this month, and it was flawed. There was 2 pieces that was flawed in it, so it didn't work. You couldn't sit on it. Every time I tried to sit on it, it was going down. So there's 2 pieces that wouldn't work, that was flawed. Like on the other side, that little golden metal piece that pokes out, it didn't happen on the other side. And then there's like one of the screws on the under part of the chairs that wouldn't screw in, wouldn't work. So it was flawed. I got it flawed, but I can't complain too much because it was free anyways this month with my medical supplies and stuff. But that's what all those boxes are, is for my medical supplies this month from my insurance on my health care. I had to switch insurances. I talked about that in a different video. I used to get Anthem. Now I'm getting United Healthcare. But so far with United Healthcare, I have to say, pretty nice of them. I mean, they get their stuff from Walmart. A lot of times with Anthem, even though Anthem was really good insurance, a lot of times with Anthem, and my daughters get WellCare, and I used to get WellCare too, but now I just have one insurance instead of like 2 or 3. But anyways, a lot of times with them other insurances and stuff, they would just give you like generic brand products and stuff. But with this United Healthcare, you can get Walmart brand products, so that's nice, you know. But anyways, I'm gonna walk y'all out here to the backyard and kind of show you. Yeah, see, I'm getting rid of all these pots right here, and those metal like wire things or whatever, those little miniature trellis things. But you can see right here, this is what I've already dug up yesterday, and I gotta work on it today too. As often as I can, I gotta work on it. Just transplanting this stuff, moving it out here. But that's all I'm doing, is moving these hostas out here. That's all of them that I've dug up so far to move out here. So there's already quite a few of them. And like I said, this ground is very, very hard. Where it's clay ground, it's very hard to dig in. It's like cement, and especially where I'm just using what I got to work with, you know, it's not that easy. It's not that easy at all. And I think, though, what I'm going to do for the holes is my dad has this tool. I know he had it because he had it last year and stuff. He has this really nice tool here that digs up holes. I think he paid $600 or $800 for it and has a couple of different attachments or something. But anyways, it digs up holes really fast and stuff. It's like a drill for holes or whatever. But anyways, I think I'm going to get my sibling to borrow it and stuff and come over here and dig up these holes, because it'll be so much faster than me just digging them up with that little shovel and stuff. But that's what I've already dug up, so that needs to be planted out here. But I'm just kind of moving everything from the sides of the house and the front yard of the house, just putting everything in one spot out here. It's taking up this whole area of the backyard out here. And that's what I kind of had planned just to do, you know. Here's some little flowers I showed y'all yesterday. They've bloomed out now. These are one of my favorites. I don't know what these are called. I guess they're daffodils. They just come out at a later time period than the other ones do. And they're pretty and white and have a yellow center to them. They're real pretty though. Real pretty. I planted some last year, but I don't think that they've did what I thought they would do. Or maybe I was wrong about it. But I transplanted some of those white ones like that last year over here. Maybe this is all that made it. But yeah, just those 2 little bundles maybe. Or 3, or maybe they haven't bloomed out yet. But I had made it so it was supposed to look like a cross. You know, like for Jesus. Because around that time period, or time of the year, you know, it was when he was crucified and stuff. And it was supposed to look like a cross, but I don't think it made it. Unless if this is it here, but it really don't look like a cross. And they're not bloomed out. So, I don't know. But I did do that last year whenever I transplanted them. They just didn't look like the way I wanted it to look or whatever. You can see that wisteria is really blooming out over there on that deck, and then it's even moved over to that weeping willow tree. But I'm gonna get off here. It looks like some of the trash is blue. I don't know if I can get that out or not. Let me take off my flip-flops and see if I can't squat down here and get it out. It's blue into the pond, it looks like. Piece of trash. Let me see if I can't get it out, but I'm holding the phone here for you guys. I don't know. It's about to rip apart. Oh, I got it. But it blew into the pond there. Alright, you guys, I guess I'll get off of here. Take this trash in the house and, hold on a sec. Let me get up. Oh, sorry. Get my shoes back on. Get back into the house. I gotta do some dishes too in there. And then I'm gonna come back outside and, start transplanting some of those more hostas. Like I said, it takes me forever. Well, because I'm fat and I'm out of shape. And then too, like I said, it's harder than it looks. Because this ground and everything, look at all them hostas and stuff in there I planted last year. Which there's a ton of weeds in there too. There's some green ones over there. You can't really see them though. But anyways, this ground is harder than it looks. It's like cutting into cement. A lot of my hostas got cut down, I see, when they weed eated. But oh well, it happens. They'll come back. But yeah, this ground here, it's clay and it's just like cement. I don't know if this little Rosa Sharon tree made it or not. Kind of looks like it might come out of it. There's a little green on it. It's not really in the ground all the way good either. But I transplanted it. It was from the front yard too. Next to the house there where I put that dirt. I moved it in this rose bush here. This rose bush looks like it's going to make it. I don't really have a good soul or good time or whatever you want to call it with rose bushes and other plants other than hostas in my yard, because where my yard is like clay. Because right here, this is the only other rose bush that I have that made it, and I've had it for years. It has white blooms on it, I think, when it comes off. But I've had all different colors, rose bushes and stuff, and other plants and stuff over the years, but I don't know. Just in this soil, it won't make it. I have a hard time with getting anything to live in this clay soil, unless if I use tons and tons and tons of potting soil, and that's usually the only time that anything makes it or whatever. But like the roses and stuff like that, I don't know why, but they don't really want to live around here in this ground, in this soil or anything. It's basically just hostas and them lilies right there that'll be blooming back in probably May or June. They're like a yellow color. They're kind of big looking. They got big blooms on them. But that's really basically all that seems to survive out here in this ground. And I don't know why that roses don't, because roses is something that you don't have to have like really good soil or ground for them to survive in, you know. And this is really terrible ground and stuff. So, and usually I always do put a ton of potting soil anytime I plant anything. So I don't know why it's like that. This right here, vine stuff, will take over all this area where I put this potting soil out. It'll just take over. See, it tries to take over everywhere it can. It's just a little vine. I got that years ago whenever I was like a child. I got it from some woman in Hazard that was kin to one of my family members by marriage and stuff, but they don't live around here no more. But I got that start off of her, and it spread all over the place. I don't think I'm going to be able to use these light bulbs here. That's why I kind of have them sitting there. I think something's happened to them because some of them's gotten broken. So I don't think they'll be able to use. I fell on this steps right here before on my front porch all kinds of times, because you can see it's kind of got a green tint to it, that fungus and stuff on there. And so I fell on them a bunch of times because, I don't know, they desperately need to be pressure washed and stuff. You can see where I used to have those pots sitting at right there. But yeah, here's where I'm at now working. This is probably actually a hosta too, maybe. I can't really tell. But I think I'm going to not even try to dig into it and just leave it. But I can tell you right now, this little bundle that's left right here, it don't look like much, but it is so hard to dig into. It's like digging into cement and rocks. And I'm trying to separate these out too so they won't be as big. So like this one right here, well, this one that's left, I might be lucky to get like 2 bundles out of, because I'm not going to separate it too much, because if I do, I'll chop into the roots of it. But hostas is something that's really good about coming back, even with damage and stuff to them. You know, as long as you got a little bit of the root and stuff, they usually come out of it and come back. But this right here, I don't know, this little bundle that's left over here I've been digging into, I might try to get 3 or 4. Now, I know a lot of y'all are like saying, probably are thinking it, oh, that's so wasteful or whatever. Well, I am a pretty wasteful person, to be honest, in all shapes and forms or whatever, but I'm not going to spend that much of my energy and time, because like I'm telling you, it's harder than what it looks anyways, cutting and digging into that. And if I had better tools, I might would, but I don't. So you just got to make do with what you got and stuff. Anyways, though, a lot of people would probably separate that into like each one of those little sprouts into different bundles. So maybe like 10 or 12 little bundles there. But I'm not going to do it. But whatever floats your boat. As long as you don't sink mine. I don't care. But anyways, and like I said, I don't want to live here. I'm just making do with what I have and dealing with it with the time I have to be here. I do not want to live here. I never wanted to live here and stuff this long. I was only planning on living here. I was pregnant with my oldest daughter at the time, and I was only planning on living here maybe like 2 or 3 years, but unfortunately life has turned out to be differently or whatever. This right here is this yellow iris. I need to get it up too, and that's going to be even harder where it's in this ditch line and it's next to this road here, because it's pretty much in the roots of it's in this road. You can see where I transplanted stuff last year, these big hoes. That's where I dug things up. See, it goes down further than what it looks. But I moved stuff last year, transplanted things, hostas and irises and stuff that I had on this ditch line. But I left a few things. I can't get everything. Sometimes I miss some stuff. And same thing with this other side here. That's why there's little holes here, little dips. Is because there used to be hostas planted in right here, like all up and down here. That is from these dips, or from where I used to have hostas at. So you can see, I used to have hostas on both sides of this ditch line, all up and down here, and irises and lilies too. All I did was moved everything, like I'm still doing. I moved everything over here to what I'm making a big huge flower bed with, just here in the backyard. That's all I did. And some of them made it, some of them didn't. Most of the time they make it though. I need to get in there, but I don't know when that'll be. I need to get in there with my hands. That's the only way to do it, is get in there with your hands and weed eat everything out with your hands. And that's a job, and it takes forever. And then plus on top of it too, usually around this time of year, I get so allergic to just getting into the weeds and stuff. And I have to go get medication and stuff for it, because my skin breaks out and stuff so bad from getting into all these plants and stuff, even if I wear gloves or whatever, because there's poison vine all in this place. And see, there's like morning glory vines too in there, so you gotta be real careful and stuff when you're into this mess, or this flower bed, whatever you want to call it. But this right here, there ain't no separating them. Those are those big, they'll bloom out probably next month and probably on it until June. Those are those huge lilies or whatever. They're like big and yellow. I forgot the exact name of them, but they're huge. And they're real hard to dig into. And then this right here, that's why I left that little pile right here last year. Because that right there, you're digging into not just the ground over here, which is blacktop, and this edge right here, you're digging into a big old root from a tree. I guess it's that tree that used to be there where that stump used to be, that was straight across from that big tree there. But it's impossible almost, and it's harder than what it looks. This is not no easy job. digging into those and transplanting that stuff in this ground here. It's clay ground, so it's not easy at all or nothing. You can see down there at the other end of the pond, I can't point it out because I'm holding this trash, I'll try to though. Down there at the other end of the pond, there's all kinds of hostas and lilies and irises and stuff. I was the one who planted those too years and years ago when I was a teenager with my aunt and stuff. So anyways, that's how all these plants and stuff got around here. All these hostas and irises, lilies, and all that was from me. Whenever I was a teenager, I used to be really into it, and I used to plant stuff a lot for, well, my mom and my aunt and stuff, people around here. And I had started working on it last year. I had started moving. I can't point it out to you because, like I said, I'm holding trash. Can't really see because of the sun either. But on the other side of the pond over there, there's hostas and lilies too next to the bank. And I had started trying to move them last year and moving them over here to this flower bed too over here in my backyard. But then I quit and stuff, and I never did get around to it or anything. And now that I'm not speaking to them and going over there around on their property and stuff, I don't plan on going over there. So unless if my youngest daughter or whatever, unless if she wants to go over there and get them or whatever, because obviously my daughters are still going around them and speaking to them and stuff. But like I said, I don't care. It's just giving me something to do for the time period. But that's not my goal. That's not my dreams. And it's not my intentions to be here forever in this property. And it's not my intentions to live here and leave this property to my daughters. I have intentions and goals of hopefully someday the Lord, the Creator above, answer my prayers. And I'll continue to pray about it every day that I'm alive. And Him blessing me so that I can move and find a place to call my home, because I do not call this place my home. This is just the house where I have to live at, unfortunately, for the time being. But it is what it is. But yeah, anyways, I got a lot of work to do, so I guess I'll get off here, and I guess I'll quit ranting and raving so much or whatever for the time being and get off here. But that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'm going to do, you guys. And also, I think my youngest daughter, has decided to spray paint all like this metal stuff, the chairs and stuff, white this year instead of white. We just painted it last year black, even though you can't really tell it, because where it's kept outside and stuff, the rain washes it off anyways. But I'm going to have to repaint all this metal seating and stuff this year white instead of black, because where we're going, we still haven't got it finished because, you know, everything's a financial issue or whatever. But we need to get the stain for that porch to finish yet, where it rained on it the other day, and that's a cedar color stain. And like I said, I'll probably end up just doing the trim and the bricks white. See, here's another big hole I'm stepping in right here. This used to be a big old hosta that I transplanted. Same thing right here. Transplanted this hosta last year. That's why those big old holes around here is from the hostas and stuff. And I never did fill them in or anything, because I don't care about them. It's just a ditch line. And nobody else cares about them either. It's just a ditch line. And then I'll tell you too what I've been thinking, what I got in my head. It's kind of changed, but why I have to live here, like I said, and stuff. Over here is a cat's grave. We had this cat back in 2023. It passed away. It's kind of, weeds has kind of covered up its little marker that my daughter made for it. Its name was Guillermo or Guillermo or whatever. I don't know. It was from they named it after that TV show, What Lies in the Shadows, about the vampires, which is a really good television show, by the way. And it was a tuxedo cat. Anyways, it got killed. It got stuck in the dryer. I'll tell that story in a different video sometime. But anyways, and it got killed. It asphyxiated and died. but I'll tell it in a different story. It'd take too long to tell it today. But anyways, what I have in mind is I wanted to make like a little fire pit, because this underneath this little tar pit is a fire pit. It was given to us, and all this stuff was given to us from different people to use for the time being until we could get our own. The fire pit's ours to keep though. But anyways, and the barbecue grill's ours to keep. But the other stuff I'm just kind of borrowing until I can get my own or whatever. But I'm still going to spray paint it white, and it is okay for me to do that. But anyways, what we had intended to do, me and my youngest daughter, we had planned on making like a little area out here where this kind of connects here, this little pathway next to that flower bed. We had wanted to make like a little fire pit area, but now what I'm thinking is, like I was talking about those, what I have in mind to make little like walk paths or whatever, walkways. I would like to do something similar over here in this section for the fire pit. I would like to take like pieces of lumber, wood, connect them like a square or rectangle big enough, you know, this section, this area, for all them chairs and the table and the fire pit and everything. And then also have like in the inside of it, put sand instead of stone. Put sand, have it real thick, full of sand. And then I would like to have just like the fire pit area or whatever. And then over here, like where this little cat's grave is, I'm probably blocking at my shadow, sorry. But over here, I would like to save that cat's grave. And I know my daughter would, my youngest daughter. I would like to, looks like this is trash too, it's tore apart. But anyways, I would like to build it up so high next to the fire pit area with blocks. Kind of have like a little blocked up, so you don't have to bend over, like a waist high little like flower bed out of blocks and cement them in. And then have like a little flower bed for the little Gammo's memorial, you know, where his grave is. And there was actually, right next to his grave, but you can't see it, there, I buried a little baby rabbit last spring there and stuff, because we had gotten some little baby rabbits out of the wild. The wind is blowing really hard, y'all. But anyways, we had gotten some little baby rabbits and stuff out of the wild, and I tried to nurse them back to life and stuff, and my mom didn't want nothing to do with them. They were wild rabbits, and it didn't happen. Here's another piece of trash to pick up. Always finding trash in my yard from everything. But anyways, they didn't make it, and so I buried one of the little baby rabbits. There was like 5 or 6 of them, but I only buried one, I think, anyways. I can't really remember, but that was like last spring or whatever, whenever we found those little baby rabbits in a little hole over in the bottom. But anyways, I guess I'll get off here. I'm keeping y'all on here way too long. But that's kind of what I had in mind. And even though I don't like living here, and I have intentions on moving and stuff someday, hopefully, what I've always liked about my yard is I've always liked the backyard better than the, see that it kind of dips here too in this area where this fire pit is and stuff, because there used to be a greenhouse over here, but I didn't want it, and so I gave it to my mother a few years ago. She's got it beside her trailer. I don't know if you can see it or not, the edge of it near the mountain there. But anyways, what I've always liked about this yard here is, I don't know why, but this right here area, this point of my yard, this little corner next to the pond here, this is my favorite spot of this yard. And so as long as I have to live here, it'll probably still be a long long ways away or whatever. And oh, while I'm thinking about it, sorry, I got like ADHD. Anyways, that little Rosa Sharon that's out there by itself in the yard right there, the reason I didn't move it is because I couldn't move it, because it's inside of I mean, I tried to dig it up and it's inside of the concrete. There used to be a little concrete path there. You can't really see it. I'll show it to you in a second though, that I made, because there used to be a flower bed over there. And I just transplanted and moved everything that used to be over there to over here. But anyways, back to this little corner of my yard here. Well, I like it because it has this shade tree, but actually I would like for the neighbors to cut their trees down, but it ain't gonna happen. Or nothing. I wish that they'd cut them all down, because I'm worried about them. Where I got so many power lines and stuff, I'm worried about their trees falling down on the power lines and hitting my house or something, you know, causing damage or whatever. But at the same time, I like it because this is the only spot in my yard that there's a little bit of shade, and where I'm so fair skinned, I can't take the heat. And I probably got lupus too, and I've never been tested or nothing, but I have family members and stuff that have lupus and stuff. So, and I've always been like that over the sun and stuff. I can't handle too much heat and stuff. But anyways, I like it because there's a little bit of shade here, and it feels nice, and where it's next to the pond. I won't talk about that in this video. I'll talk about it in a different video. But I do like living kind of close to a body of some kind of water. It has good and bad to it, and I'll talk about that in a different video. But overall, as far as the aesthetics of it, just looking at something with a body of water like that, it's really beautiful. And I like it. You know, I like looking at the water and stuff as it's blowing, like the wind is blowing and breezing right now. You can see the little waves on the pond and stuff. And I do like the aesthetics of it. But if I had the money, even while I'm living here, what I would like to do, because I like that little section right there, and that's where I feed the fish at too, right there in this little dip right here next to the bank of the pond, where it goes down right here. That's where I always sit on this other side right here, and I always feed the fish right through there. That's why the fish are so good about when people are fishing, about biting and stuff right there. But anyways, what I would like to do, even while I have to live here, if I had the money some way or another, what I would do is I would build like a little raised platform pretty high, because I mean, it could flood here. I mean, it has happened before. It just didn't get as high as what FEMA requires it to be in your house, because they require it to be 18 inches in your house for flood, to get all that flood stuff. But as far as the ground goes, it can definitely flood here and stuff. And then anytime it rains too much, you know, the ponds will get high and stuff. But anyways, I would like to build some kind of platform, kind of big, in this area, like a square little platform, and where I don't have roofs or nothing on my porches. It sucks not having no roofs on your porches and stuff. And so what I would like to do, if I ever had the money and if I was still stuck with living here, is I would like to put like a kind of a good size. I don't really know measurements or nothing, how big, but I'd want it to be pretty big. I'd want it to be big enough that whenever you really couldn't even, you'd probably have to like weed eat that area after it was built. Nothing could get in between there, so it would be a pretty good size area, what I'm thinking and what I have in my mind. It would be like a platform, like a deck, but it would be high enough and stuff. It would be off the ground, and I would kind of want the steps to be like wide and high enough apart and stuff that you could put plots of flowers and plants and stuff on and also walk on. I don't want to build like a wheelchair ramp or nothing like that, but I see the uses out of stuff like that. You know, you never know what's going to happen or anything. But in the meantime, I would want like some kind of like little roof on it. And I would want like the back side, the side that's facing the fence over there, I would want it covered. And so I would want like this side too, like if you're sitting in it, I would want it big enough that you could put porch furniture and you could sit in it. And then this side like this, facing my uncles and the rest of the neighbors up that way, I would want that one covered. But this side here facing the road, I would want it uncovered. And then this side here facing the pond, I would want it uncovered. So anyways, my sibling's hollering at me. But anyways, he's wanting to know, because I asked him if he would come over there and dig those holes for me if I was ready for that. So I'll get off here and go do that with him. But anyways, I would want the steps like facing probably this direction, facing the road is probably how I'd want the steps for it. And I would just want it big enough that I could sit like a bunch of porch furniture on it. It wouldn't be like a house or a tiny house or nothing like that. It would just kind of be like a platform, a deck thing, and have big enough that I could put porch furniture on it and stuff like that, and get some enjoyment out of it. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to get out here, but get some enjoyment out of the weather and stuff from being rained on and stuff. But and it would be covered and everything. But anyways guys, I'm gonna get off here because my sibling's over here and I need to get off here and show him where to plant things at. So thanks for watching. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks, bye.